All right, Shalom. Let's start up saying Call Halayim, La Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem, Harakakodash, Baruch. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and double honors to our elder apostles as well, and her one by Yasha down here in the Lions Den camp. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth, sincerity, and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right, I'm Kalak to by Yasha from the Lions Den Yasha camp. And this is another Lions Den news and prophecy. So here we go. In the second Ezra chapter 15, verse 1, it says, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. And it doesn't matter how many times we got to repeat the same scriptures over and over again. This is all according to the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, to warn of what's to come. The Lord is bringing hell on earth, violence upon the land. The violence is going to be on the shores of Babylon. But you have individuals that don't think that's going to happen. All right. But right now, what Babylon got to worry about is them getting pieced up over there in Iran. Now, they already sent some troops over there, and there's been some casualties from that, right? But now they're saying allegedly Trump's going to send thousands of more troops. And I got another article I want to read. I might do this in like a two parts, um, that talks about how the 82 Delta Force are like sitting ducks over there for the massive army ground personnel that Iran has. And you're sending those individuals in uncharted territory, that unfamiliar territory. So this thing smells like disaster all the way around, man. All right, it says U.S. expected to send 1,000 more soldiers to Middle East, sources say. It says Washington, March 24th, the Pentagon is expecting to send thousands of soldiers, all right, from the U.S. Army's elite 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East. Two, two, two people familiar with the matter told Reuters on Tuesday, adding to a massive U.S. military buildup, even as President Donald Trump talks about a possible deal with Tehran to end the war. They ain't talking no deal. It says Reuters' first report on March 18th that the Trump administration was considering deploying thousands of additional U.S. troops to move the world that move a move that would expand operations to include deployment of forces inside Iranian territory. Such an escalation could drastically raise the stakes in the conflict, which is already in the fourth week and has roiled global markets. So now, with the destabilization of world markets and destabilization of the world economy, it's going to force. If this doesn't stop soon, which I don't think it will, um, it's going to it's going to crush the global economy and force other countries to come into the war. See that? It says officials speaking on the condition of anonymity did not specify where in the Middle East the troops would go or when they would arrive in the region. Soldiers are stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The U.S. military referred questions to the White House, which said all announcements on troops deployments would come from the Pentagon. As we have said, President Trump always has all military options at his disposal, White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said. So no decision has been made to send troops into Iran itself. Yeah, they did. He said it's a little port right there on the coast of the Strait of Hormuz that he was allegedly sending an elite force like a Delta Force in there to try to take over that area. I mean, it's not in the heart of Iran, but it's in Iran. All right, it says, but they will build up capacity for potential future operations in the region. It says one of the sources said the Pentagon was set to send between 3 to 4 and 4,000 soldiers. Soldiers deployment follows Rutgers March 20 report about the U.S. decision to send thousands of Marines and sailors aboard the USS Boxer, an amphibious assault ship. Yeah, that's the one, along with its Marine exp- expedition, expeditionary unit and accompanying warships to the Middle East. It says prior to the additional forces being sent to the regions, there were 50,000 U.S. troops there. Damn, that's a lot, man. It says news of the reinforcement comes just a day after Trump proposed threats to bomb Iranian power plants, saying there had been productive talks with Iran. If you were, I wonder what that body count is. If you already got 50,000 personnel on there, but you're talking about sending thousands more, why are you sending thousands more? Are they to replace those that have been unalive? Them crows over there flying. You seen the lesson that Jaquan did this morning. Elder Heroin did this morning, man. Them crows is flying. That's a sign, symbolism. You know, the Lord's gonna prepare a feast for all those birds. It says, but after Trump's Truth Social comment on Monday, Iran denied that any talks have been held. See that? He bluffing. Ain't nobody held no talks. They ain't trying to talk. They bombing. They bombing. They just what was it? Tel Aviv just got hit with about 84 missiles. It says 13 U.S. troops have been unalive so far in the war, and 290 have been wounded. That's a lie. That count higher than that. A U.S. official said, while 10 remain seriously wounded, 255 troops have returned to duty. Man, they that's like when they fighting when they used hog dogs, particular pit bull, to go hunt hogs, right? You know, them boars they got tusks. And as they, you know what I'm saying, going to fighting, dog might get ripped up. You know what I'm saying? Man, listen, I witnessed individuals go to the dog, stitch that dog up, hit that dog with some penicillin and a B12, make sure you don't get infected, give them that energy boost, and tap that dog on the butt and send them right back. And they'll put a vest on it, a leather vest around it to protect the wound. Or sometimes they send them out there with the vest already. It's a special vest that the dogs wear, so when you know what I'm saying, they won't get punctured by the boar's tusks. But send them right back out there to go hunting, and the dogs be with it. But in this particular case, like the elder apostle or her one said in the previous video, the morale of the place is low. Don't nobody want to fight. They don't even understand why they fight. This is like I said before. I was saying months ago. Watch this turn into another Vietnam. It was the same thing in Vietnam. People were dodging the draft. They were protests. Nobody wanted to go out there and fight America's war. It's not a war for freedom. It's a war for greed and filthy gain. It says Trump weighs next steps. It says sources have previously said the U.S. military was looking at options in Iran war, including securing the Strait of Hormuz, potentially by deploying U.S. forces to Iran's shoreline. See, I just said that. Um, it said the Trump and his administration also discussed options to send ground forces to Iran's Kurg Island, the hub for 90% of Iran's oil, experts Reuters has reported. While you do that, first of all, that would be a smart move to cripple, uh, the leverage that they have with home field advantage for one. But if you take out 90% of their oil production, that's going to hit the pockets. You know, that's like how them slowing down or shutting down the Strait of Hormuz is hurting everybody else's pockets. But Iran is not going down without a fight. They're not going to be able to easily just go in there and do what they want to do like that. And plus, you got divine intervention. This is you have so many key factors that line up against the United States. Is crazy. It's like, oh, oh, that's a game. It's World War Three has begun. But yeah, man, this is leading up to World War Three. All right, what are you witnessing is the buildup of Armageddon or the Valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, it says the 82nd Airborne Division, which can deploy within 18 hours of receiving orders, specializes in carrying out parachute assaults. Any use of U.S. ground troops, even for a limited mission, could pose significant potential or political risk for Trump, given low American public support for the Iran campaign and Trump's own pre-election promises to avoid entangling the United States in new Middle East conflict, and that's what he went straight to do. He thought it was going to be easy, like how he did with Maduro, but like the elder was saying, that Maduro situation was a setup to lift up Esau's pride, and that's ultimately what's going to be a downfall. Thinking that you know what I'm saying, you being the hammer of the earth, thinking everything is a nail, and try to beat the hell out of everything. You know, so like the people. Now you still got your Trump supporters that are like, "Oh yeah, come on, Trump, let's do it, let's do it," you know. But eventually they're gonna be like, "Hold on, what are we doing? Why did we do that?" You know, because once it's like we're only feeling the effects of it right now through gas prices, but the Lord said He's gonna send plagues on the earth, you know, and one of them plagues is missiles. All right, it says a Reuters PSOS poll published on Tuesday found that 35% of Americans approve of the U.S. strikes on Iran, down from 37 in a survey conducted last week. Some 61% disapprove of the strikes compared to the 59% last week. So that number is um, increasing of the disapproval rating for the decision that um, DJ Nero 47 has made around sending troops or really bombing Iran in the first place or conjoining with Israel to bomb Iran. But he might have really had it in his mindset not to engage in the Middle East war. Mm-mm. But this is the thing right here. Let me find the scripture real quick. This is Proverbs 21:1. It says, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, as the rivers of water, he turneth it wheresoever he will." Right. So it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter what Trump initially said he wanted to do or wasn't going to do. It's all being brought forth by Yahweh by Shimon Shai. This is Proverbs 16:1. It said, "The preparation of the heart of man of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of men are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirit." So the spirit that was placed in Nero 37 was placed in them for a specific reason to perform Yahweh by Shimon Shai's will. See that? Said, let's skip down to verse 9. It says, A man's heart devises his way, but the Lord directed his steps. All right. So the Lord directed his steps, and this is the step that the Lord forced Nero 47 to take. This is Joel 2:20 says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army." Right? It was talking about United States Army. It says, well, military in general. It says, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate. See that over there in the valley of Kidron? You know, that's crazy. I'll say it again. A friend of mine, when they were in Kuwait, um, they rushed them out of there. They were like, "Hey, if y'all don't leave today, you're not going home." And they got him up out of there. And as they got him up out of there, the raid happened on, what I'm saying, the bombing on Iran happened from Israel and the United States. And then, because they knew what they were going to do, like weeks before they did it. Um, and the facility that they were in got flatlined by Iran because Iran was like, these other Arab countries that are housing U.S. military bases, Iran is attacking them. And like the elder was explaining, that you can't if Trump was to pull out right now, these other nations that help aid Iran would get rich off of this because they would have to get restitution back from these nations that did damage. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have to pay for all that. So they got to continue to fight to get the upper hand, or you know what I'm saying, or if they don't, Iran and be the top dog. America wouldn't be able to throw this weight around with all the oil that's going on over there. So this is a situation where America has no choice but to continue in it. Ain't no deal. Iran ain't talking about no deal. It says verse Joel 2:20 again said, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive in him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, right, toward and his hinder parts toward the utmost sea." So his face is going to be directed straight towards Iran, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. Right. That that um that that stink that's going to come up is the unalive bodies. That, like the elders explained in the video he did, the lesson he did this morning, that the bird's going to have a feast day on. All right. I was going to do this in two parts, but I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to this other article. So now we just were talking about the 82nd Airborne deployment to Iran, right? So now check this out. What just came in? It says U.S. troops brace for hit and run guerrilla attacks as 82nd Airborne deploys to Iran. Military analysts warn. All right. So let's check out this video.
Breaking news right now. Fox has just learned that the Pentagon is deploying more troops to the Middle East. It is part of the president's moves to give the U.S. more options as he works now to negotiate with Iran's leaders. And one of those options could be sending in ground forces to secure important sites, especially around the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, more dramatic new video coming in from Central Command showing U.S. strikes destroying military targets of Iran's regime. Take a look at this. They're also dropping new photos for us of the new A-10 Thunderbolt II in action. Here's Mark Thiessen.
And some of that intel of them bombing certain things in Iran is fake. And they just showing, like the elder said, they just showing Trump that stuff. And they really lying to Trump, man. He don't even really know what's going on for real. It's kind of like the whole thing with the war with Napoleon, how they told him that Napoleon won when he really lost.
How does this thing end? It ends with no nuclear weapons, no nuclear fissile material, no ballistic missile program, and no massacring protesters, right? And so how do you enforce that? You put the regime in a vice grip.
So because of the regime's near total ban on outside media, video from inside Iran is now with the very latest on what's going on. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Aisha. Well, the U.S. is sending about 1,500 additional troops. The commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, Major General Brandon Tegmeyer, along with elements of his headquarters staff, is expected to deploy to the Middle East soon. The 82nd Airborne is your ready force. U.S. officials have indicated ground forces could be used to take Iran's Karg Island or its highly enriched uranium. But publicly signaling these kinds of troop movements and naming the potential targets represents a lapse in operational security and could just be a negotiating tactic.
We see ourselves as part of this negotiation as well. We negotiate with bombs.
I said, Pete,
See that?
and General
See
Raising.
that? He said, we negotiate with bombs. Peace by violence, peace by force, peace by war. That's the only thing this is about, man. He said we got negotiation as well. We negotiation with bombs. See that? They're not even trying to strategically do it in subtlety anymore. They're just outright being a bully. And the Lord is, you know what I'm saying? That's the devil coming down having great wrath because he had but a short time.
Kane, I think this thing's going to be settled very soon. Here they go.
No, you don't. You don't think it's going to be settled very soon. You know it's not going to be settled very soon. That's why, that's why the United States are taking the actions that they're taking.
Oh, that's too bad. Pete didn't want it to be settled. They were not interested in settlement. They were interested in just winning this thing.
The A-10 Thunderbolt attack aircraft have been used to destroy the countless small Iranian naval vessels that are used to drop mines in the Strait of Hormuz. It takes very little, however, to threaten the strait.
It would be hard to keep it open. And so it is like what we found in Iraq. We could bomb Iraq pretty easily. We could even take Baghdad with relative ease. I tell people about this war, if you like this war, enjoy this first part, because this is the best part. Because everything after this will be harder. They only have to shoot a civilian tanker or cargo vessel, once a week.
Right.
And then people go, well, I don't know what day they're going to strike somebody, so I'm not going to let my ships go now.
General Stan McChrystal fought the insurgency in Iraq and Afghanistan for more than a decade and warns that the Iranians still have the asymmetric advantage. Aisha.
Okay.
See that? They still have the asymmetric advantage. So now, hold on. It says, man, they still have an asymmetric advantage. So it says U.S. troops brace for hit-and-run guerrilla attacks on 82nd Airborne deploys to Iran, military analysts warn. It said Iran could significantly increase U.S. casualties if its elite military and proxy forces shift to guerrilla-style hit-and-run attacks in the region, and leading to military and a leading military analyst has warned. It's like I said, like when they started putting troops over there in Vietnam, same thing. All right, Michael Eisenstadt of Washington Institute of Near East Policy spoke as a Pentagon moved elements of the Army's 82nd Airborne Division into the Middle East amid a new escalation in the conflict, according to reports. Iran has large infantry units in its military that are equivalent to the brigade combat team of the 82nd Airborne. Same elite status. Eisenstadt, a former U.S. All right, I'll read it again. It says Iran has large infantry units in its military that are equivalent to the brigade combat team of 82nd Airborne. Eisenstadt, a former U.S. Army Reserve officer, told Fox News Digital. The 82nd Air Force, the 82nd Force is too small to cause significant harm to Iran, but is large enough to be vulnerable to Iran's strikes, and this would enable Iran to significantly increase U.S. casualties. He said. What did we just read? 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 Joel 2:20 again. It says, I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hindermost part toward the utmost sea, meaning headed straight towards Iran. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. And that's the more troops he's sending over there, the more casualties it's going to be. You see that? The more casualties it's going to be, man. So, man, the Lord ain't playing, man. The Lord is turning back our captivity right before our eyes, man. This is a beautiful thing for us to be living in these times. It's treacherous times to others, but it's not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, but it's treacherous times to others and a beautiful time for us, because we all know that it's going to lead to our salvation. All right? Lord willing, this lesson edify to serve the purpose for the hope of elect, the ones that truly believe in the name Yahweh Shema Shai. With that, Allah said, Call Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harakak Radash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Double honors to our elder apostles as well. I heard one by Yasher, all down here in the lines in camp. Salutations to the Oculus that are pushing the truth, sincerity, too. And peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in